Hello everyone, welcome to episode 1 of Real Estate Unfiltered with David Abayomi. If you're saying this, advice for you, get a glass of water because it's about to get choked. Because today we're going to be going deep, not just deep, we're going deep.
We are going deep.
We're going deep with David Abayomi.
We are saying it without makeup. Yeah. We are making it so real.
All right, so let's go. Haven't been in the real estate sector for more than 4 years, adding to the years you were doing marketing agent and all that.
About a decade, actually.
About a decade now. Yeah. So would you say, because I personally have this perspective that real estate developers are enjoying, and it's not a lie. It's not a lie. It's not a lie for me. It's not a lie, honestly. So, because there's this that real estate developers are enjoying with just doing little.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you agree with that?
No, I'm listening.
So would you say that, is it that it's just an accusation that is not true? Or these are just true? So now, I don't want you to come from the angle of developer, just come from the real angle. Are real estate developers really enjoying?
Okay, so statistics in the last 3 years has shown how much of developers has gone into serious depression.
Depression?
Yeah. To the point that some developers even lost their lives.
Wow.
Right? So how then do we match that up with developers I enjoy?
But there could be other issues.
It's actually, I don't think, because this is why we tend to see so many people into development today. I have series of messages on my phone. Some persons that were never a developer confirming to me and confessing that they could have just remained, whatever they were doing and never become a developer, right? Okay. Because people do not get to see exactly what the real picture is because you're looking at it from afar. But until you get close, before you tend to say it. I think I will be definitely going to elaborate more on this. Maybe not in this series because I think we have so many other things to talk about. I would have loved to talk about, I had lost over 500 million in just 5 years as a developer. That is $500 million, right?
Wow.
There are so many times developers have actually thought of compromising on, do I really want to do this thing, right? And then people just tend to say, oh, developers are enjoying because they see the glamorous activities and, it is not a real picture. Everybody can succeed from paper. Everybody can succeed. In Yoruba, there's always something that I grew up hearing, meaning that you use your mouth to drive.
Okay.
You can never have any accident. Even when you have an accident, there's no impact.
All right.
So it's okay for people to say developer and enjoy. My question is, come in here and come and get it done. Then let's enjoy it together.
That's all right. That's kind. I think we'll come back to that.
Yeah, sure.
So in the last few months, there has been, will I call it accusation, that real estate is one of the channels of money laundering, because comparing the price of properties in Nigeria, because I sometimes wonder, why will a property in Lekki be going for 1 billion? So now, you being a developer, would you say that those properties, the price are fair, or real estate truly is another channel for money laundering in Nigeria?
Okay, so I think often there has been narrative about real estate Nigeria is overpriced, and I think is a new movement, or should I say it's a trend, or it's a new movement. But then, if we really want to say it unfiltered, and then we really want to say it the way it is, I will agree with some narrative to say that real estate is overpriced, but not generalizing it, right? Okay. Because what makes real estate worth such a fortune, right? For example, the cost of construction mostly in every location can always be the same thing, right? We can always have the same cost of construction.
Okay.
The amount that probably we used to construct in Enugu is what you will use to construct in Lagos, right? Aside looking at the topography of the soil and which can actually cause some extra, cost you some extra fund. Yeah. But then, what really makes Lagos that's demand in the market and makes it that expensive, that makes it, pricey. Number one, Lagos State happens to be like the smallest state in Nigeria.
Yes, I agree.
Right? You agree with me, right?
Yes, I
Okay.
agree.
And then there is a law of economics that says where there is a demand and there is a low supply, there's going to be a skyrocket of price.
Prices.
I mean, you understand that, right?
Yes, I agree.
So now, you do not expect, okay, just like when, imagine you driving home at night.
Okay.
You know very well that the cost of a fuel is 1,000 naira to 1 liter.
Yeah.
Now, but now you are driving at night. Then your fuel got finished. Probably you got stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
This is about 12 a.m. and then you are not getting any other place to get fuel. Now, there's somebody that's selling a fuel by the road that says, okay, this my fuel sells for 5,000 naira. Are you going to buy it or not? That's the question.
I will actually buy it.
You're definitely going to buy it,
Looking
right?
at the
But
demand.
are you going to say the guy is wicked? Is he not just doing his own business?
It's
And I mean,
business.
it's making your request available at a very inconvenient period, right? So in Lagos, technically, Ikoyi and the likes, we have low, supplies of land, but we have high demand of land. Somebody that is even any very low really wants to live in Ikoyi.
Yeah.
People hearing me like this now want to live in Ikoyi.
I actually want to-
Okay,
yes.
now you want to live in Ikoyi.
I actually want to
but
live in Ikoyi.
But I mean, it's hard to speak now, but it's not what you can afford right now.
Yeah,
but you
I
have
agree.
aspiration to
Yeah,
live in
everybody wants to
Ikoyi.
live
Now, everybody wants to live over there. Then there is very high demand in the market for that location. So, and I mean, Lagos is surrounded with water, it's an island. There's not so much land over there again. So you're going to be buying from a secondary and a secondary and a secondary and a secondary buyer.
Okay.
We can also invested in this property to make money.
So it's
So
more
in
now.
a situation whereby you have bought a plot of, a plot could be any square meter.
Yes,
In a
I
situation
agree.
where you have bought a square meter of land, let's say about 400 square meters or about 500 square meters, that you have already bought at the rate of, let me say, I don't want to exaggerate. It costs far more than that, but let's say about 500 square meters is already sold for you for 500 million naira.
Yeah.
Whatever you're going to build on it, you're going to be spending about 3 million, probably 200 million naira to build on it, or about 400 million naira, depending on your design and every other thing there. Okay. So if the price is not priced at 1 billion naira, it's worth it. That's the question. It's worth it.
So
Right. But in a situation whereby you have a construction done, you have a project delivered, and then you are not getting value, that angle, I would say that property might have been overpriced in terms of getting value. But is property truly overpriced in Nigeria? No. But in terms of not giving value, that is where you can use such a word. And to the other question that says laundry, I don't want to get invited. Though. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe because, for example, there is in recent news. I mean, I can say this in the public because it's already on the public.
Oh, yes, on the public.
There's about 755. Is it 745 or 755
units.
duplexes? Unit of duplexes.
Yes.
They got seized by EFCC.
Yes.
From the former chairman of the Central Bank of Nigeria,
Yes.
right? So I mean, they have something like that. He has laundered money through into real estate. So you can actually say, I mean, what is money laundering? Money laundering is about a fund that is pulled from not a legitimate source.
Yeah.
Right. So that is what money laundering is all about. So maybe it's happening, but not in the narrative of building a property. I mean, do you know that many developers even go as far as getting a loan to build all this in a country whereby inflation does not have a benchmark. Inflation does not send invitation letter that I'm coming. You can sleep this night and wake up to a serious, almost 50% inflation on whatever that you have cost. Whatever your construction cost might be. These Nigerian banks that gives you facility paying back about 38, 35, 36, 37, 38, up to about 38%.
Wow.
Right? For a developer that has calculated his BOQ, I mean, you have your BOQ, this project is supposed to cost you 1 billion naira. Right. If you do the mathematics, 1 billion naira, and then you're getting a facility from a bank for a billionaire, right? And then your project is supposed to cost you a billionaire, and 2 months, 3 months into the project, inflation strike you. The same project that was estimated at a billionaire, you need about 1.5 billion to deliver such a project, right? So how then do you think this is all being made up to be money laundering or whatsoever, or to say that properties are overpriced? I'm against low standard. No. I mean, you have low standard construction and not delivering a proper project. Far against that. But in other terms, real estate is not overpriced. The demand in Lagos is very high on real estate. Lagos is housing about 20 to 23 million persons in Lagos, catering for about 10% of total Nigeria population already.
Yeah.
So what then do you expect? There's housing deficit, there's people don't have a place to live and all of these things. So I mean, I don't really agree that it's overpriced, but in terms of giving value, of course, that we might have a talk on.
Okay, so do we now say, like, in Lagos,
Yeah.
like, I think Lagos and Abuja is now the eye focus of everybody when they're talking about
Yeah.
property. So would you say that the government, the inflation, with the rate of inflation, is government making it easy for developers to acquire land?
No, not at all.
So we could say that the whole prices is also coming from the government. Okay, let's just ask, what's the minimum you could say to obtain a building approval in Lagos?
In Lagos, so obtaining building approval is actually according to zones, right?
Okay.
And this is what I mean by that. You can have a construction project, let's say on the island. I mean, we have two parts of Lagos right now. We have the island and we have the mainland, right?
Yeah.
So the cost of your approval on the mainland is actually different from the cost of approval on the island.
Yeah.
It does not have a fixed price.
But do you think it should be so?
Well, I think I would justify that it should be so. It should be like that, but with some level of regulations in it. Now, even when you're building on the island, let me use an example, because I focus here more on the island. I don't really know too much about the mainland, right? Let's even say the highland now. What it will cost you to obtain a building approval in Lekki is different what it costs to obtain a building approval around the Kota. It's different from what it costs to around Abramade here.
Oh.
Right? And now that's within Etiosa. There's still Ibejuleki. From Abijo, it's different to Bogije, to Lakwe, to Awea. It's actually different, right? To the Dangote refinery side, it's actually different too, right? Okay. So now, it's also building approval is also subject to how big your project is.
Okay.
Yes, of course. While some might obtain a building approval for just 5 million naira for a single or a block, let me say a block of building. Okay. You don't expect somebody that wants to do about 20 units. You are doing 30 units, you're doing 40 units to pay the same amount, right? So it's also how big. It's only a question of how big
the project
is, right? So,
okay.
But I can tell you, in minimum for just a regular project, people pay up to from 5 million naira upwards to obtain building approval.
Wow.
Right, exactly. So imagine you're just building a terrace, or you just want to build just a duplex, and then you're already spending 5 million naira to build it. For example, we have a project ongoing, right?
Yeah.
We have a project ongoing already now. And then I said it on a live video section that we have paid not less than 65 million naira for just a building, to obtain building approvals. Now, what people don't know is building approval is not just subject to just one singular paper. There are a series of departments that they're going to approve that you're building. For example, on our project, we had an existing buildings, about 2 blocks of bungalows, which were there. And then when they came to inspect this project, we were told that without obtaining demolition approval, building approval will not be done. So how do you expect me to calculate it? I'm going to calculate the demolition payment into, fixing into the building approval as well. And that's what makes us to have that kind of figure at the end, right? And then our project is not just 1 unit, it's not just 2 units. This is a project that's coming up as a mini estate.
Wow.
Right? So, I mean, there's no way we'll not pay up to that amount. right? So, but then it will be good if there is a system in place to actually regulate this thing a bit better. The time frame is another thing. Imagine a developer that has secured facility to build a project. You have to wait 6 months, 7 months before you obtain your building approval. Yeah, we started our building approval process around June. Was it June or May 2024? Wow. And then we got the final approval. We got one in October, and then I think we got our commencement letter in November 2024. So if you calculate that's about waiting for about 6 to 7 months, right? So so all of these processes, if there's a way it can be worked on better for developers to pay less for building approvals, I think it will help. So these are all these factors. By the time you put on, we are not talking about cost of construction. I don't know if we are going to talk about that, but I don't want to dabble into that too much.
So you mean this whole money you paid now, you've not even done anything on site? It's just to the government account?
When we were going to start that project, we had Omonile on site requesting that we're going to pay 15 million naira. They charged us up to about 15 million naira, not 15, right? They said we're going to pay 15 million naira, or they take 2 plots out of that land. It was a total of 9 plots of land that was bought about 25, 30 years ago. So when the property was bought, it was bought at 500,000 naira per plot. And this is one good thing when we tell people buy into real estate. People don't really tend to want to understand why you need to buy into real estate. And he bought it at 500,000 naira per plot. Then he bought the total of 9 plots, measuring about 6,300 square meters thereabout. And now, fast forward to, I can't really remember the exact date again. It's really about 25 to 30 years ago, right? Then fast forward to 2025, you realize that, okay, there's a project that's going to start on here. In that environment now, a plot of land goes for between 80 to 90 million, depending on the proximity and the nature of the land. Yeah, and there's one thing where with people buying into real estate, it looks like they don't know what they're talking about, right?
These people just want to make money.
Real estate comes with its own risk, right? It comes with its own risk. That's absolutely true. Real estate comes with its own risk. But I think it's still far more better than every other investment you can put in your money, right? It's so far, and it gives so much of that value, right? So for a plot that was bought for 500 and then being valued at 90 million naira today, I think that's a worthy investment, if you will say. So now these guys came and felt like, this man bought this property, 500,000 naira per plot. And we have been the one monitoring this property. We have been the one guiding this property. We are not allowing anybody to come on this property. We are not allowing anything to happen to this property. Now, this is how much the property is selling for. For anybody to do anything on this is what we are going to take.
50 million.
50 million. We start to negotiate. We start to beg. Because one thing you want to do, and this is one thing people don't know most time. You think you have power, you want to vent your power. Oh, I know military. I know this. I will take them to court. Somebody asked me, said, why don't you take them to court? Why don't you get them arrested and charge them to court? So then they will go and find a counter lawsuit against you because Nigerian judicial system needs to be needs total overhauling. They can come up with a counter suit, right? And then put your project on litigation. And then you are not able to do any other thing. So we just have to find a common ground to have this discussed. And we're just like, oh, okay, Joe, bye-bye, Joe. What can we just do? Let's just have these things settled, and then we negotiated. Okay, you know what? Because the whole 9 plot was divided into 3 sections, three plots. Okay. No one said, you are starting your work on this first 3 plots. I said, yes, we're starting on this first 3 plots. So as to not also incur the whole payment at once. Okay, you know what? On these 3 plots, you're starting what? You pay us 5 million. On the other 3 plots, we will pay 5 million. On the other 3 plots, you're going to pay us 5 million. Wow. I tried everything possible to negotiate lower than that, but trust me, they had a benchmark. Right? And then we just have 2. So this had nothing to do with your cost of construction. Where are you going to put all of these things into?
Yeah, down from the approval.
It's going to be the consumer of the project. Yeah. Because you also spend all of this money.
And I feel if anybody wants to build, the person will still need to pay the same thing, even if you're not a developer.
No, if you're built, that's the worst. That's what people don't know. Why do you think people want to give their money to developers? See, aside having the money, your peace is important to you.
Yeah.
You want. There's some people that cannot trade their sleep.
That's true.
And you know the headache that comes with this thing. If you find a credible developer, you just have to buy your home with them and then let them face the headache.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
if you are not, you're going to pay at every point of construction. See, this guy needs to just be your friend at the end of the day.
Yes.
Right? Because you're going to pay at every point of construction. It has been a culture. Nothing is changing that anytime soon. Right? They're going to ask you, you pay for foundation. At foundation level, you're going to pay.
Yeah.
At the roofing level, you're going to pay. If you are doing decking, you're going to pay. I mean, there's just payment at every point of construction that you need to pay. Right? So I do not see, why people still. It's not all about pricing. It's about perspective. From what perspective is the developer coming from? I'm not sure. I'm not too sure. Maybe I'm speaking from myself. I'm not sure there's any developer that even try to make up to 50%. In profits. Yeah, that's the truth. Which shouldn't be like that. If you know what developer goes through, I'm a developer, so I know what I'm saying very well. If you know what developer goes through, forget that we are in front of the camera and I'm smiling. I mean, it's just a sincere truth.
All right. So I think that was last year. We had people coming live online to say that they have building approval for their properties and government still demolished their properties. Now, with that, you as a developer being in this sector, would you say that there are people in government that offer fake building approval, or these approvals, building has approval and still government demolish? And does the government actually have that power to demolish people's property that have approval?
Again, big question. Big question. So you are the one that said people came online to say they have building.
They are online. Like, we still have some videos coming up.
Because I think it's been about 4 years now. There have been series of demolitions exercise.
Even in last week.
Yeah, even last week in Lagos,
buildings
right?
were demolished in Ikota.
In Ikota, okay, yeah. I mean, because major focus has been between Ikota and Lekki, Axis, and Coast, yeah, right? So I don't think so. I'm going to be answering this question from two angles, right? And I think number one is, if you say you have a building approval, right? You have the right to sue the government. You don't even need to come online.
Oh.
Yeah. You have the right to sue the government. Right? People have sued the government before. I mean, yes.
Do they really get their money back?
Yeah. Why not?
Okay.
They have to be compensated. Now, see, let me tell you, there is a law in land that often we don't talk about, right?
Land have law?
Yeah. There are laws governing the land, yeah. The law of 1978, 1973, thereabout, that gives power to the governor of the states, that says that every land in the state belongs to the government, not to the governor of that state, right? So, number one, technically, all lands belong to the government. Either you have C of O or you don't have C of O. And then over time, I'm going to digress a bit to actually treat this topic, because this is a topic I've gotten over time. People have asked me often, do you have a property with a C of O? What we want is a C of O. What we want is a C of O. And what people don't know is that there is, in my own understanding, there is a superior title to a C of O.
Wow.
Now, if this is my house, right? I've rented this out to you. Even if it is for 100 years, are you the owner of that house?
Yes, for 100 years. Oh, no, you are the owner. If you rented it to me,
if I rented it to
you are the owner.
I'm still the owner. Thank you. So if government gives you a C of O for 99 years, it's a rent. It is not yours. But there's a title called Gazette.
Okay.
Right? It is called Gazette. Right. This does not have an expiration period. Yeah, it does not expire. Why C of O have 99 years of expiration period? Now, you should be about 30-something or 40-something years. You don't even know, maybe the C of O we are trying to purchase has been used since about 60 years ago. Or about 50 years ago. Oh. So for that C of O, that means you only have 49 years to go.
To spend.
And of course, you are still going to live for 49 years. Yeah. So what happened after 49 years? What happened to your C of O?
The children might not even remember to.
The government might come back to take it because you have just rented it. They can tell you want to use this place.
Okay, so does that mean that if you have C of O, after every 99 years, you have to repurchase the land?
Of course.
From the government.
And if they don't ready to give to you, they can't give it to you. That's the truth. If they have a use for it, there's a use for it. Yeah. But there's a title called Gazette, and that's what's amazed me when people say, "Oh, what I'm looking for is a COO."
Yes.
There are other titles that we're not talking about, but I think that's a topic for another. I'll digress to that point a bit. Now I'm going to be talking about two types of acquisitions that we have. In lands, we have what we call committed acquisition and should I say government acquisition? I mean, we have government acquisition and we have a Lekki acquisition or a global acquisition, right? Okay. So we have two types of acquisition. We have the government acquisition, which is known as committed acquisition, and then we have what we call a global. In recent time in Lagos, it is known as Lekki acquisition. Now, what are the difference between those two titles? What I mean by a government committed acquisition means that this particular land has already been zoned for a purpose. Okay. Government have a use for this land.
Okay.
Even if your father is the owner of Nigeria, the fact that government has already marked it for a purpose means that you cannot get a title on it. Right? For example, hospitals in recent time, they are warning people, and I saw it lately. It's going to be on one of our stories. There's currently a demolition there's going to be another demolition that will happen on Lekki Epe Expressway very soon that people will cry. A lot of people will still cry. Yeah, because there's about 94 kilometers setback. 94 meters setback expected, which is going to be used for the green. I think the green rail project. Okay. Is it green or purple rail now? Project that's coming from. I think it's kicking up from somewhere on VI, somewhere on the island. Yeah, on the island here, going towards Ekpe and then to the free trade zone. Okay. Right? Yeah, and it's different from what the federal government, because this is a state project. It's also different from what the federal government is going to be doing on the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, because it's another rail that is being planned. I mean, look at all this infrastructure that is coming into Lagos. It's actually crazy, right? Yeah. It's going to bring a whole lot of value into the system. Now, the truth is, all of those things have been marked. We have places that government has marked for schools. We have places that they have marked for industrial projects and all of those things. Now, somebody will go on that land and buy it and build on it. Give it 40 years, 50 years.
But I'm sorry to say that during construction, is it last era they call them? They usually inspect every project. And I think during this project...
That's LABSCA. Now, it's not every project that LABSCA inspect. As a matter of fact, Lagos State implemented a very serious law in 2022-2023 when Lagos State started to experience a whole lot of
building
collapse, right? And then that was when Lagos State introduced what is called a stage inspection.
Okay.
Stage inspection at every point of construction, they come and check, right? And even far before now, there has been series of warnings, on buying a government committed land to build a project. Now, to your question, most of this land are not being demolished because it does not have a title. That's what people don't know in Lagos. Lagos State will hardly demolish your project because it does not have a COO.
Okay.
Yeah. They will hardly, demolish your project because it does not have a COO, especially when it is in a fully residential area. Right?
When you say fully residential, are there some part of Lagos that are for commercial purpose?
Yeah. In this context, what I mean by fully residential area is that we have a lot of buildings that you have more than 500, 1,000 houses. Yeah, that's a full residential community. Okay. Yeah, of course, there are locations zoned for. There is zoning. There's Lagos State zoning. There are locations zoned for commercial. There are locations zoned for residential.
Wow.
Yes, of course. Right? So now, in a situation whereby you have gone ahead to buy this property that is a government committed land, and not just only because government wants to use it. There are waterways we're talking about in Ikota, Lekki axis.
Yeah.
If you look at one thing that Commissioner Tokunbo Wahab keep talking about, that's the Commissioner for Environment, right, in Lagos. Yeah. Wow. One thing he keeps talking about is people are building along the waterways. People are blocking the drainages. Go to Ikota and see sort of houses. I've been to Ikota to inspect some things there.
Yeah.
There was time I went to Ikota, I could see people building. Having a canal reduce the size of canal because people don't know between a canal and a drainage.
Okay.
They're having a canal that should have,
large
large size for waters to flow easily. Then they reduce it, they slim fit it like a tailor slim fitting trouser those days.
Wow.
They slim fitted it to the minimum just for, they reduce it to gutter, that you can just easily cross over. And then we are shouting about there's flood.
Lagos is
and all of that thing. So what do you expect them to do? They are going to move into those locations and start to demolish. Mind you, Commissioner Tokunbo Wahab challenged, these house owners and say, if you have a building approval,
come on.
It is not if you have a C of O, because what people don't know is that you might have a C of O and your C of O is passing through a road. Oh, come on. I mean, these are issues that people don't really know. You can have a C of O and your C of O is passing. We have a property that is a C of O, and then it's been divided into two already.
Mean the land?
There's a road. Yeah, there's a road passes through this C of O. Right? Would you say because you have a C of O and there's a road passing this through C of O, you have to go and build on that road? No. So the commissioner was not even asking for a title document. He only asked for a building approval. Wow. Because in Lagos, what happened, not just in Lagos, landlord, what it says is, if you have an empty land, you don't get compensated for your land. Yeah. You don't get compensated for land. The land was not yours at first.
But I have a document for it.
It's not yours. You are renting it.
Wow.
Yeah. One most time, let's look, for example, let's use what happened in case of Landmark Beach.
The coastal road.
Now, even though I'm not a supporter of what has happened on coastal because we were also affected by the coastal road. We have some of our estates that were affected. We have about 4 different estates got affected by the coastal road, right? And then it's putting us in a whole lot of, chaos because you can't get, if you go to any court, you can't get compensated for it.
Yeah.
So it's not about, it's a land. I have a friend that has a land somewhere around Akodo, a very good friend of mine, that the land comes with a very perfect title, even at the point of facilitating and perfecting the governor's consent. He has fenced this land, done everything, make it really beautiful, and yet the government came and federal government said they are readjusting and realigning the coastal road to pass through the land. And it was taken off. Right. So what will happen is they are not really going to be charging you for not having a building, for not having a C of O. It's not a problem. For not having the building approval is why they said, okay, if there's anybody with a building approval, bring it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they can authenticate that this thing is being approved from Lagos State. Trust me, you're going to get compensated.
Yeah.
Because, for example, the Fort Milan Bridge Road that is going to happen, that is flying from Abramade Sonya, passing through Okera, Badore axis. There are people that will be compensated on that road. Those that have a building approvals. Yeah. So the question of the demolition that we need to answer is, do I have a building approval? Can I authenticate this building approval? Because in Nigeria, we like to cut corners. Yeah, that's what people don't know. There's a difference between you paying a government official to look away. I'm not saying they are getting paid though. I'm just saying there's a difference between paying a government official to say, let's look away. Ooh. And then there's a difference from paying a government official to say, yes, I'm actually authenticating this process.
And this can be verified.
Right? So if those people can present their building approvals and they can verify it, and I can assure you that there will be compensation given. But in a situation whereby you cannot authenticate a building approval, you cannot present a building approval to whatever that has been done. How do you expect the government to compensate you? Because at first, the land you built on it wasn't yours.
If you have a building approval and your building is demolished, come out.
Exactly.
Okay, come out. With inflation in Nigeria.
And before we even go to that, I would seriously advise people that charting information of a land is actually very important. Right?
Charting? Okay.
Yeah, you need to do your charting information. When I saw the recent news of about 38 houses marked for another set of demolition around the quarter axis. I felt so bad. Being a developer, I know how much people put into
Yeah,
this
especially those
thing.
in
Yeah,
diaspora
people
investing.
investments. I mean, I know developers that went into heart stroke, hearing this news and everything. But I think it is important that the environment is developed does not mean it does not make it safe, right? It
Mm,
might actually be for a purpose. It might actually be that this place is for drainage. Drainages have, meters. They have space that they've taken over. And all of this thing is on Lagos State base map. That's what they call Lagos State base map. It's already available on the base map for your checking to be sure that you're not encroaching. If you're encroaching on anything, you are not going to get a building approval. Because when you want to get a building approval, they're not going to ask you to have a C of O, right? Because that does not justify you building on that land.
yeah.
What justifies you building is this place free? They're going to visit your site. When we want to build our project, they visited our site, looked at it and said, okay, what is happening here? What is happening here? They came to do a survey of the environment. But they came on the day we did not. We only submitted and filed in for information. They traced it down and they got the location because we have submitted our survey. So from anywhere, they can use the survey to locate anywhere your land is, right? And then they checked and realized that, okay, I mean, this is a pure residential area. No drainage is passing here, no road is passing here. We can approve this. And it got approved.
So for government to approve your building, they usually visit the site.
Of course, yes. This is what people don't know. Let's stop pushing non-narrative on the internet. I mean, I'm not saying we can't blame government for certain things. I'm not saying government is perfect, but we are the reflection of what we get from our government. Government visits your site, right? They come visiting your site to make sure that they'll come trace your survey, trace everything, check this. Is the site even is it even suitable for what you are building? Is it even safe for what you want to build? You want to build at 4 floors, yeah. Is it even safe? There are building restrictions. There are restrictions in Lagos that you cannot build high rise. They are going to stop you. There are locations whereby they will tell you you intend to build five floors here. I mean, you intend to build 10 floors here. You can't go more than 5 floors, right? So there are all these rules. They come to your sites. Yeah,
They come to
they come to sites.
now with the demolition, because those properties I saw online was actually developed by developers. Like they were developed.
Right.
So now let's now come to the limelight. Seeing the condition of the country and seeing how much people put into it. Are there like forum or association per se that these developers are accountable to?
Okay, so I think we have some association that's managing general real estate system in Lagos State. I mean, not in Nigeria, right?
Okay.
But in Lagos State, of course, this is where I operate the more. We have Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority. They are called LASRERA. Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory
LASRERA,
Authority.
yeah.
You have to register with them. Then we now have a national union that also monitors all of this. It's called REDAN, Real Estate Developer Associations of Nigeria. Right. So they are accountable to this. But the truth is, it is not every developers that are registered, with real estate developers with this association, right?
Okay, there are some that don't register.
Yeah, most of these houses are not even being built by
Developers.
by an accredited developers. Yeah. There's just some few persons that, okay, you have this money, you have passion to support housing deficits in Nigeria. And then, of course, they go into construction. Not because they have individuals. They have individuals that can just wake up tomorrow morning and say, okay, I have this money, I've bought this land. Okay, I want to build to have a commercial real estate practice done.
So you're indirectly saying that people can actually build without being a developer.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, of course. Yeah. People can actually build. I mean, but then it's part of where we are having the challenge, because if you just feel like you can just wake up tomorrow and build, then you're going to be getting the wrong information. It means you might not get the accurate information. You might not get the right information on whatever that you're doing. Right. Yeah.
So
experience matters.
With this in the industry now, in the real estate sector, combined with the price and everything, would you say that the government should regularize, like put a regulation to the real estate body?
Putting regulation to real estate body. Instead of, I think we only be focusing on the wrong angle, eh? what the government should focus on should be. I mean, we're already shouting housing deficit. Housing deficit in Nigeria currently is over 300%. Yeah. Yes.
300%.
Yes. I know every country have housing deficit. They have homeless people sleeping on the street and everything. But it's worse in Nigeria.
But I think Lagos is ranking more on this list.
Because everybody want to live in Lagos.
Yes, everyone wants to live in Lagos.
The smallest state is overpopulated. It's having most of the population.
Yes, Lagos is actually carrying more than.
Yeah. So instead of focusing on regulating real estate generally, I can say, Lagos State is already doing that. We have several departments making sure that what you build is,
standard.
is to standard,
and
right? So I give it to Lagos State in that. I mean, they're doing the best, the very best. Even though we still have some developers, because we have some locations whereby people are building and then before overnight. Now there's a new law that was recently introduced by LASPA. Even though it does not go well with me properly, but I think it's also a way. Because you see somebody, I know of a project they were building sometimes ago, and then like they started the project, and within the next 2 weeks, they've done the decking, and then the project is they're already on the next floor, getting ready to do the next floor. You know about triplex. Yes. Wow. And what were they doing? They were rushing the project overnight, just doing everything. Now, there's a new regulation that last put in place. That's Lagos State Physical Planning, right? Mm-hmm. And then what they have done is to say that for every construction site, they can only work between 7 in the morning to 6 p.m. By 6 p.m., let them close. We have this department that now says that, there are exceptions to this thing, right? There are exceptions to it. You can either, if you get approval to work at night, you can even work at night. But also, it's also to save, this issue of building collapse in Lagos. I mean, everybody say, why Lagos? Why Lagos? Why Lagos? Why Lagos? I mean, it because of what people are doing, what people are building. Midnight you're building, right? And then now they have put this law in place now. And then people will still say, why did they have to stop people from building in the night? It's also to regulate all of these construction, non-quality construction that happens on site when nobody is there to monitor. So instead of focusing on regulating, I think we should also focus on regulating the prices of materials.
Okay.
Yeah, not the price of the project. I cannot spend about 100 million naira on a project, and I'm selling this project for about 130 million or 145 million, right? And then you think I'm greedy because I know how much that I'm buying all of this. Do you know how much the economy like this at the very so? Do you know how much it costs to? It's burning. It's burning in and one thing you don't know is just like what we're discussing earlier. It is developer that develop the community. It's developer that is developing community, not even not the government.
Yeah, I think that's
in Nigeria. I mean, people that are shouting overpriced. This thing. You see, I'm already raising my voice because this thing, this is already burning me hot.
Yeah, I understand.
We have traveled to see how this thing is practiced in other countries, right? Maybe I've not gone to so many countries, but I've visited some countries, and I can tell you there are so many countries right now that before development hits that country, even if we don't try, we just watch some of this thing in the movie. Before development hits that particular community, you see all major infrastructures has been made available.
Yeah.
In Nigeria, a developer will buy a land. Developer will go and buy a land in the bush, right? Go and check what this guy is doing currently. I mean, it is not a paid advert. I'm just so happy with what he's doing, and then I'm encouraged. Mr. Wale Ayilara, what he's doing in Ekpe. In Izimi, Lagos. Yeah, now I think a plot of land in that Izimi, Lagos now costs, I don't know how much. I mean, like I said, but I know it costs over 100 million. And somebody will say, why selling the land in Ekpe for 100 million? This is somebody that has gone to go and develop a bush. It was. I think there's this Loma this thing around it. He has gone ahead to go and develop. Go and see development that is happening in that place, right? He has spent on his money to do this. A developer will buy a land. We have sold land, right? We will buy the land. You do the road, you do drainages, you do the light, and you are still paying for all of this. You are still being taxed on all of this development, right? Whoa. So you can't expect this level of development to happen in a place, and this person has been the one to do it, and come and tell him the price of what he will sell that thing, and you expect the government to regulate it when government has not done anything practically to help. You can only regulate. You can't give me if you are my father and you shelter me in my house,
Yeah.
you can tell me, don't make sure you get back to this house by 7 p.m.
Yeah.
And I'll make sure that I'm home by 7 p.m.
Okay.
In a situation whereby nothing of sort, you can't expect me to be home by 7 p.m. Right?
Yeah.
You're not housing me. I can come in the house the way I like. You would not buy fuel into my car. I can start my car. I'm not justifying, having 100%, 150, 200% profit on whatever that you're doing. But I'm telling you that for developers that are helping, even helping the government, to solve housing deficits, and they are not even making easy for developers.
For developers.
So you do not expect, and there are some things that cannot be said in front of camera, even though it's unfiltered. But I don't want anybody to come for me.
Yeah.
But for every stage of work, do you know how much that we pay? To come and do stage inspection, do you know we have to pay? Yes. So you can't, where do you want to throw all of these things to? Did I come Lagos, Conquer Bridge? No. No. So so instead of just saying government should come and regulate real estate, as much as like I said, kudos to Lagos State government. They are actually doing a fantastic job in angle of making sure that there's quality houses delivered. Yeah. Look at what happened on the internet. Somebody posted on the internet recently that there's an elevator leaking, the roof was leaking,
I saw it too,
and everything, and then it caught Lagos attention. They went there, they shut the place down.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, now this is what we want, right? And then I give it to Lagos in that. But I'm saying technically, instead of focusing on regulating the price, let's make the price of make Lagos building build for people now. If it is easy,
all right.
It's not that easy.
Okay, with all the stress now that developers go through, the sleepless nights, and with the cost of materials, the inflation and all that, how do developers determine prices to ensure that it is fair, that it is not too much? Because that's one of the challenges we're having now. You see a building and people cannot really... So how are these prices determined to ensure that they are fair and truly developers are solving housing deficit and they are not seeing it as an opportunity to exploit?
Okay, so on that, technically, right, I'll give answers from the angle of structural buildings and finishing, right? Okay. No, but one thing you should know is regulating, how developer fix the price or determine the price of a project of how you should sell. From the onset, in fact, this is where it's even really, really tough. For people like us that sells off plan projects, right?
Oh.
Yeah. We determine the price of the property based on the BOQ.
Okay.
Give it to us. BOQ, bill of quantity.
Okay. Bill of quantity.
Yeah. Now, you have your projects, right? This is where you want to build. Yeah. And there are technicality to this thing. This is where I want to build now. I have seen on this ground building here. And now I have done my soil test, which is the number one thing that you need to do. Very important.
Yeah.
To know what kind of soil you're building on. We might be on the same spot.
Yeah.
We might want to build on the same spot.
Yeah.
Right? You are building a duplex, I'm building the same duplex.
Yeah.
Your house is on this other street, my house is this other street. I'm just about 50 meters away from each other.
Okay.
You do your soil test, I do my soil test. Your bill of quantity is giving you that you need only 50 million to build a house, and my bill of quantity is telling me that I need 90 million naira to build the house. The same house that you want to build and the same house I want. What do you think is different there?
The soil
test, the soil test is different. Texture might not be the same thing. And we had that same experience with our projects called S Residence, right?
Okay.
S Residence, right? When we moved to sites, we did a soil test the first time. We did a soil test the second time. And then we had, like I said earlier, we had a building on it.
Yeah.
And when the building was demolished, let's do a confirmatory soil test. I bet you the spacing between this thing wasn't up to like 10 meters.
Oh.
Where we did the first soil test, and when we were doing confirmatory soil test, the first one told us that we should do rafts. But when we did confirmatory soil test, he said we need to do pile.
Wow.
Do you know what it costs? Do you know how much it costs to do pile? So now imagine our bill of quantity. We have already phantomed the cost. That okay, we're selling for 1 naira. We're selling for 5 naira here.
Yeah.
But now that bill of quantity was prepared based on
the
rafts.
Raft, yeah.
But now the what we have to do on site needs to deal with raft and with pile.
Oh.
And we have fixed that we want to sell for 5 naira. Yeah. Meaning that if we have calculated that pile from beginning, we are supposed to sell it for about 7 naira.
Yeah.
Do you see now? So, but who now bear the loss? It is the developer. So how they determine is based on the bill of quantity. When the solid is done, and you have your structural already, you have your M&E, that's mechanical and electrical.
Yeah.
You have all of this submitted it to a quantity surveyor, BOQ, to prepare your BOQ, right?
BOQ.
Then your BOQ, what they do is that, okay, they have seen your structural, you are going to be using this number of iron. How much is the number of iron in the market?
Okay.
Right? Okay, you're going to be using this number of cement. This is your mixing. This is your numbers. 332. 3 bag of 3. We have 6 sand, 3 granite. You are using 2 bags. They're going to calculate all of these things together and give you a bill of quantity and say, okay, at the end of this project is going to be costing you 100 million.
Wow.
For construction.
Okay.
What BOQ will not give you, and now this is where our people, developer play around with finishing, because BOQ will only give you what it will take your building, the structural work to roofing. That's what BOQ will give you. Your finishing now depends on choice and on taste.
Okay.
While I spent 50 million naira on my structural, I can decide to spend 100 million naira on my finishing.
So the painting, the lighting part is never calculated?
No, it's never calculated. Never calculated on your BOQ.
Wow.
Never calculated on your BOQ. Right. Except you want to have a separate BOQ for your finishing. And the finishing is just about taste. Where we can use the same structural costs for our project, my finishing might be costing me 100 million, and you can decide to spend your own 20 or 30 million.
Yeah.
So you don't expect me to sell for the same thing. Just like a friend of mine on Instagram would say, I watched one of his videos just this afternoon, and he said, why is my project more expensive than this other person? And he gave some answer. He said, why is Momo more expensive? Is Momo and goat meat selling for the same price? Now, this is my answer to that. Can you tell me why you pay, you pay about 100,000 here in Lagos at, let's say, I don't want to mention any hotel now,
yeah.
in one hotel here, and you go to Transcorp in Abuja, and you are paying 1 million naira for a night. Can you explain it? So if you can explain it, then you don't need to ask me a question. Value is different.
Okay.
Quality is different.
Price is determined.
Price is different. Yeah. So the value you are giving it determines the price of what you are doing. So we build in the same place, we build the same thing. We might be having different, quality of delivery. It's not all about the light, like Scott would say. It's not about the light. Put that 1,000 light. No, it's not about the light.
And
it starts from the structural. That's why I said to someone, I said, until you have a very bad structural work, that's when you will understand what that Bible passage that says, when the foundation is destroyed, what shall the righteous do? It is that time that you will be able to quote it, because your interior, whatever, can always be worked on. I know people that change their interiors almost every 2 years. Yeah. They remove everything and bring in new things, right? Yeah. But you can't do that on your structure. Once you have a structural defect, that's the end of the building.
Yeah. So
people don't even pay attention to structural. People just want to buy a finished home. I never encourage anybody to buy a finished home, but in the situation where you are buying a finished home, can they walk you through the process of the structural, getting a qualified engineer to vet what they have submitted to you, right? To sweat what they have submitted to you, because that's why many people move to your house and it's a dead on arrival by the time they move in already.
Are you saying, with what you said now, can you say that it's right for client to ask for building process?
No, be their money. No, see, it's the same thing. It's as if you are just employing me. Our project right now, if you come to site, except I'm in the office or I have another site to quickly check on, that's when you don't see me on at S-Residence. We have S-Residence and Escort project ongoing, and we have another landed property. So just going to all of this site, that's when you don't see me sitting on site, because you have employed me, you have given me your money, you have employed me to do that work.
To look after this project.
Right. So I should be able to give you reports. That's what we do. We give almost weekly reports on our project. If you go on Instagram, you see it there. Yeah. At every stage, we have reports recorded
Wow.
So that tomorrow we can also present to you, even when the building is finished. If you just want to buy, we can walk you through the process. We present you the structural design, present it to you, let you know that every point in time we have Lagos State officials, LABSCA, Lagos State Building Control Agency, coming to inspect every and certify every stage of this work.
Wow.
Yeah. So that where we are supposed to use 16 mm, we did not compromise to go and use 10 mm. Somebody sent me a video. I have the video. Somebody sent me a video of a land that they are of a building ongoing, and just like now tomorrow this building collapse. It happened to be a waterlocked area, right?
Yeah.
They have done the raft, and the same day they were filling was the same day they were casting, and they did not even set any iron to do their DPC. They used, what's this thing called, mesh. It's like a mesh, iron mesh was what they used, and so they did not even compact the floor properly. They did not pour the sand for the sand to settle. They did not do anything.
Wow.
Right. So such a project, I mean, now somebody will finish that project and will go and sell it for 50 million and say that somebody will now come to me and say, I bought my own 50 million, and I'll go and enjoy what you have bought for 50 million. When the problem comes, go and you know what happens to you.
Yeah, so the quality is one of the things that determines.
Yeah, quality. So for every developer that fixes a price, even on a project that's an off plan, is what the BOQ has given them. When there's inflation and everything, it then becomes developer's headache.
Okay.
Right.
So with the pain you are going through as a developer,
I'm going through pain.
with the pain you are going through now,
I'm going through pain.
With your stress and everything.
Because why am I going through pain? When we started this project, a bag of cement was 7.8. 2 weeks into the project, a bag of cement jumped to 8.5. I'm seeing everything this year. This same 2025. Started the project mid-January. Right now, we started by 7.8 to 8.5. And now we are buying a bag of cement, my brother. We're buying a bag of cement for 10,500 naira. 10,500. Body is pinching me.
Yeah.
Hey, don't say.
Yeah.
No, not just on that. What about granite? We started to buy granite at 450 for one trip of granite. How much was granite about 2-3 years ago? Wow. Right. But we're buying a trip of granite for 450. That just now, a trip of granite is now 550, 560. From 450 to 560.
All right.
Now, I mean, not just that. We have sand. Another problem, we know they won't see the sand to buy. We are begging to buy sand right now. Yes.
Wow.
Because the coastal road is ongoing heavily, and they are doing serious sand filling in this part of this Lagos. Yeah. Serious sand filling. So federal government has bought the whole sand. All the old trucks have been channeled to the coastal road. So if they call you a sand for 350, you don't want your project to pause. You have to buy. You have to meet up with your delivery timeline. These are headache developers are facing. Who is going to say it? That's why we want to say it ourselves.
Yeah, well understood. That with this whole thing, you as a developer, what you're going through, and what this audience, the citizen online, especially the online, because we've not heard from the offline. Yeah. So if you are given the opportunity now to lead Nigeria for a day, what would you change about the real estate sector?
Well, there are financial experts, and you can't just, because you're president, you can't just, but let's assume that I'm giving power. Hey. Let's just assume that I would just start and say, by the power
invested
in me,
yeah,
I hereby declare that a cost of cement for one bag should go back to 1,000 naira. Yeah, but it's not possible. You know why? Because most of these guys are also doing these things are running in dollars. Yeah, dollars is rising. Dollar is about 1,600 or 1,700 to naira today.
Wow.
Huh? Today, 21st of May. Right now, 2025. So, and these guys also operate. All that much remuneration is in that currency.
Yeah, they operate in
so
dollars.
They cannot
really fit.
Do you understand? So, but if I'm opportuned, I think to ease this thing, if we can work on the cost of construction, the material, the construction material, if we can work on it, subsidize it properly, bring it down to the minimum level that we can bring it down, and then, as the president, I'm going to invest heavily in affordable housing.
Wow.
Yeah. We need government to invest in affordable housing. We need more people to build. But if government is going to regulate real estate the way people are saying they should regulate it, developers will run. Nobody wants to develop again.
Yeah, and even the government is not ready to develop.
How many are they going to take care of? Developers are the one developing communities now. I mean, that's why even private government offices that deals in land want to partner with private developers to build now. Yeah, because they have other things to focus on. So it's just the cost of building, the materials. It's what is actually killing and it's making the price of property skyrockets in Delhi.
There's this question here in my mind that I know that many Nigerians have been wanting to ask this question.
Yeah.
And it happens, the whole news went up, I think, when this coastal road started. Now, you as a developer, knowing these land laws, dealing with different surveyors and lawyers in the real estate sector, and also facing government officials, did you think now that government have the right, like have the authority, the audacity, let me put it that way, like to revoke COO?
100%. 100%. This land not be your own before now. Not you get her. You rented it. They can revoke COO.
Wow.
Yes, a lot of COO can be revoked. Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, they can revoke COO.
COO can be revoked.
COO can be revoked. 100%.
Don't worry. Maybe next
yeah, when we're going to be talking about titles, right?
Yes, I think in the next episode we need to gather enough facts, enough evidence to talk about titles, because you've given me this land. You as the government, you've given me. So why would you revoke
it? You are really. Have they taken your land before? Has government taken your land?
Oh my God.
They have taken your land.
Oh my God.
Don't worry, we're definitely going to be talking about that. And as I talked about being a developer and how much that I have lost, I think we're also going to be treating that topic. Oh God, what some of these things has put developers to? What developers are going through? I'm just going to say it out there that if you have any developers that you think have this experience, I'm not talking about those that have oversold an estate that they're now looking for it, but if you see those that are genuine and then having one or two. All developers they face is a different one. They are facing from money that they are facing from the government. But I think that's for the next episode.
All right. So if you have question,
if
you have question,
you can send it in so you can trade it.
Something disturbing your mind that you really want to pour out, or one of these second-hand developers have dealt with you and you have an experience to share, we are open. And if you have a question, if you want to come, like share your life experience, we are available to welcome you. And if you have a question, you can drop it in the DM, Real Estate Unfiltered with David Abayomi. We are always available. And if you have come this far with you, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Real Estate Unfiltered, where we say it is the real side of real estate. In our next episode, we'll also be treating, in one of these our episodes, I don't know if we're going to treat next episode, but we're going to be talking about my personal experience. I started a real estate journey and I lost half a billion naira in 5 years as a real estate developer in Lagos, Nigeria. So we say thank you for joining us. Thank you so much, and see you on the next one.
Episode. Don't forget to drop your questions.
Yes.